So the lecture I covered advanced CSS, Flexbox, and responsive design. I talked about like a little bit of more CSS, and then I went to Flexbox and then responsive design. So we learned a lot about CSS, how to do colors, things like that, how to do selections, things like that. So there's also things called child selectors. So child selectors are basically, if you want to, there's a main, let's say there's a main div, and inside that div, there's, let's say, a paragraph, and then that's how you select it. So let me quickly show a quick example. I'm going to open a code bin. Code bin is a place we can show the code. So let's see, WEB02, let's say afternoon. Save this. So let's make a quick like div here. So I'll say div, and then inside it, I'll put a paragraph, let's say. So I'll put a paragraph. So this paragraph is a child of div, right? Child of div. So this paragraph is a child of div. Div is a parent of this paragraph. So that's how they're related. We usually just say child and parent. So that's how they're related. So if we put something like here, new lesson, right? We can, if we want to style this paragraph, we can do something called child selector. So child selector is in CSS, you say div, and then you say p. That's how you select the p. You could also just select p like that, but let's say this has a class of let's say main, okay, and what you could do is you could say dot main p. So that would be the class, and this is how you select the class, and then the child of this class is paragraph. Now if you want to change, let's say, font size, you could do that. So it's like that, okay. So that's the child selector. And then there's a pseudo class. Most of the time you don't need to know a lot about pseudo classes, but read about it and watch a lecture about it. And also first child and last child, you know, these things are they don't come up all the time, but it's good to know. Forms, styling forms is really important, especially in when you're doing websites and things like that. So let's say we want to make a form here. All we have to do is we say form, and we close it, we say form, and inside we put inputs. We could give them a label. So input a label, we could say label, let's say something like name label, and here we could put, so we could put the input here and say input. You only need to give it a type, and we're going to say this one text. You could also give it like a placeholder, which is a small text that's inside the box, where you can basically kind of like give what it is. So you could just say things, your first name, things like that, and then it's going to show in here, just like that. So when you type it, it's going to go away. So that's how you create an input. I forgot that. And also all forms need a button. So you could just say button and then submit like that. Okay, so form with the button and then you submit it. So how do you style this? So if you want to style this box, the input box, all you have to do is you could say input, and then you say type is equal to text. So basically what you're saying is the input where the type is equal to text. You could also have other inputs, like you could have a password input. So input type, you could say password, and that will make it so that whenever you try to use it, it's just a dot like that. It's designed for password. So this one will not style the password input. And then you could just say things like, you could just say height. You could say 40 pixels. You could say padding 20 pixels. And then things like, that's really big. So let's make this like 10 pixels and padding maybe 10. As you can see, and then we can make the font size maybe like 18 pixels or 19. So this is kind of like the way you style a form. So now if you type something, it looks different. You could also change the sides, which is the border. You could say border radius, and that you can make it like 10 pixels, and then it will become like a rounder format. So we style this one. As you can see, this is a text. If we want to also style the password, you could say comma input type equal to password. You could say that, and they also do that. You could just get rid of the label. You don't need it that much. And now you have these two. So that's kind of like the basic way of styling a form. As you can see here, we did that too. So that's how you select a form, and then that's how you style it. Okay, we're gonna skip that animation. So let's go into Flexbox and talk about a little bit about Flexbox and show you what it does. In the lecture, I showed you this website, Flexbox cheat sheet or cheat. So it's this website. It's a really important website where you learn Flexbox. So Flexbox has two things to start with. It has a container and it has items. And Flexbox was designed so that when you have a website, let's say you have like, let's say, and if we go to any website like this website, when you make it smaller like this, you want things to fit perfectly. So you want things to align perfectly. Like you don't want things to like go to different places or overlap or things like that. So Flexbox was designed so that things shouldn't like overlap or look, not so good. So you have a container, which is the main section, and then you have items. These items could be text, they could be images, things like that. And then you have a different ways of like modifying it. You could modify it so that it is like horizontal or vertical. You could use this flex wrap where when the items reach certain size, they can go to the next line, basically automatically. You could use this justify content, which has all these properties. So you could either keep all the items to the left, all the items to the right, the center. You could spread them out, and then you could also spread them out, but kind of like evenly. And this one is more evenly. This is perfectly evenly, and this one is a little bit more evenly than this one. Okay, and then also you have align item, which also aligns things in a vertical way. So if you want to align things at the top or at the bottom, things like that. So those are the kind of properties that it gives us, and we will practice an example. So let's get rid of this form for now. And let's get rid of the CSS for now. So we're gonna create a basic Flexbox example. Okay. So let's say we have like a list. So a UL is unordered list, and this list has several things in it, about six or seven things. So we'll style that too. So when you have UL, you have to put LI in here. LI is a list item. So we'll put one here, and then we're gonna put a couple of them. So let's put them about like 6 of them, maybe. So we're gonna make all these a box, each one of them. So let's say 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Okay. Now let's give them classes. So the first one, we're gonna give a class of, let's say, container. You could also say here Flex container. Flex container. You can name it whatever you want. It's just a container. And let's give all of them a class, same class. We're gonna say class Flex item. So remember that this is a Flux container, and these are Flux items or Flexbox items. So let's put all of them the same thing. Okay, and then we're gonna go to CSS and we're gonna style it so that each one of them look like a box. All right, so let's do that. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna target the Flex container first. So we're gonna say Flex container. In here, we're gonna give it a display Flex. Okay, and then also we're gonna give it, as you can see here, it's already aligned, so horizontal aligned. So when you say display Flex, it makes it a row. If you wanna stack them, you could say Flex direction. You could say column, and then they will stack like that, like the usual, the original way. Okay, let's give it a Flex flow. Flex flow is a Flex direction and Flex wrap put together. So now we're saying make it a row, and it should be wrapped. Basically, when they reach to this wall here, they should go to the next line. Basically, that's what we're saying. And also let's add justify content. Justify content, and let's do a space around. And that's what we saw here. Justify content, and we did a space around like this. So that makes it so that they all fit perfectly throughout the page. As you can see now, when we expand or shrink, they all fit perfectly. The next thing we'll add is, let me add some padding, and we'll get rid of these dots and all that. Padding 0, and let's make the margin 0. And also let's add a list style. List style will get rid of the dot. So list style none. List style none. So that will get rid of the dots. So now we have our numbers all working out. All we need now is to style it so that they are a box, basically. And then we can, I can show you how you could you could change it around. So let's style Flex item. Dot Flex item, and this will give it a background of red. Let us give a padding of 5 pixels. Let's give it a width of 200 pixels. So as you can see, they became really big. Let's give it a height of 150 pixels. Okay, and let's give it a margin top of 10 pixels, and also a line height. As you can see now, they become a little more a box, but we're gonna refine them so they look good. Let's give them a line height of 150 pixels, and that will kind of center them in the center. Let's give the color. Let's make the color white, and let's make the font weight And this week we're changing the text, like the numbers. Let's make that bold. And let's add font size of 3 3M or 3rem. Let's add 3M. So you haven't learned how to make this M. So we're just gonna make it 2.5, 2 rem. So it's big like that. So in the lecture, I talked about what rem is and what's used for. And let's center them, the numbers. So we're gonna say text align center. So they're just gonna go to the center. So we have all these boxes. So now if we move out, as you can see, they automatically adjust. And let's make this tomato. It's a little bit not too red. As you can see, they adjust automatically. And the more we get closer, the more they kind of adjust their space. So that's what Flexbox does for us. You basically have multiple things that are aligned. Imagine this is like a box of text or images, and then you could align them that way. Do you guys have any question about that?
No.
I think Khadija have understanding. She has understanding of Flexbox, but good to kind of like go back.
Yeah, Flexbox is way easier than what we were doing in the last homework. It was so super frustrating.
Yeah, it makes your job easier. So all you have to do is, if you want to make an item a Flexbox, you just say display flex, and then it becomes Flexbox. So there's so many applications in the assignment. If you want to put things next to each other, you use Flexbox. Make sure you have like a container. So like this one, we have the UL container right here, and Flexbox only goes one layer deep. So if you have something else underneath LI, something like another element nested, it will not affect, Flexbox will not affect that. So that's really important. Tun, do you have any question about yeah, sure, I can save it. Also I'll send it, inshallah. Okay, let me send that. All right. Let me do a little bit of responsive. Let me talk about a little bit about the responsive design. So if you go all the way down, you'll see that we talked about different types of responsive design. At the beginning, when the internet was starting, like 1990s, early 2000s, the main thing was that websites were being used only for like a for mobile, not mobile, for desktop, for computers. So after like 2007, when the iPhone came out, that's when the adoption of iPhones or phones became more permanent, and websites were being viewed from a phone. And now it's like over 50% of the people that view websites, they view from mobile. So it became important that we design websites for mobile, mobiles in mind. So responsive design, it started from like a fixed layout where like the desktop, if you were viewing from a computer or viewing from mobile, was exactly the same. And then it went to a fluid where you change the website, but you don't dedicate it for a mobile. You just change the how big the font is and how things are laid out, basically. Not even how things are laid out, how close things are. Let's say if you have an image, it becomes smaller when you view it from mobile, and when you view it from computer, it becomes bigger. So it adjusts the size. The font, it becomes bigger when you view it from mobile, and it becomes smaller in the desktop. So it was good, but it wasn't the most efficient. And then adaptive layout is what came and became the responsive. So adaptive layout is you design you design different devices in mind, and that's where the media query comes. So media query is a method in CSS where you can say, okay, if we reach anywhere less than 500, make my website look like this. So you give it a rules in CSS, and you basically say, this is how I want it to look like. Anything above that, it's going to look another way. Also, you could say like when it becomes like 800, usually like about 700 is a tablet. 700 between 700 and 500 is a tablet. Anywhere above 700 is a desktop. So that's where the media query came. An example, let me give you a basic example of a media query. Let me start a new pen here. Let's say media query. Let's save this. So let's say we make something like a, let's actually maybe copy what we just did and then change it around. Now this, let me just open it again. So we're just gonna copy this so we don't mess it up. And then copy the CSS. Okay. So now we have it like this. Let's say we want to change the color when we reach like 2, like that. So that would be somewhere around like maybe, I'm not sure, 700. Oh, it says that right here. So that would be about 400. That would be about 500 exactly. So when it reaches 500, we want to change the color, the background color here. So the way we can do it is we go to CSS and we say add media, and then we say max width. As long as the max width is less than 500 pixels, then do this. Okay, so we're just going to change the Flexbox. What is it? Not the flex item background. So we're gonna say dot flex item, and then we say background here. Let's make it like a light blue. Light blue. So it's automatically changed like that. So now if we go above 500, it becomes red. Lower 500, it becomes like that. So maybe let's make this like a blue. Okay, it's too bright. Let's make it like orange. Maybe that's even worse, but yeah. But the main thing is, like, you can see it changes when it reaches 500. So that's what media query does for you. It changes. Let's say not even the background. Let's change the font size. So we want the font size to be much bigger when it reaches 500. So we say something like, let's make it like 50 pixels. So 50 pixels. So now if we go to anything lower than 500, the numbers are going to be bigger. So let's make them like 70. So as you can see, the number changes, it goes up when we reach 500. So that's what media query does in general. If you want to change something, you just say media query, and then you decide which size you want. And also there is a min width. Min width is used when you want to think of a mobile first design. So this is basically saying as long as it's a 500 minimum, basically 500 minimum, then do this. Anything above 500, do this is what you're gonna do. This is what you're gonna do, the rule. Anything above 500. So now if we go above 500, then the number is gonna be bigger, and it's gonna be, we could also change the backgrounds to make it obvious. Background, let's say something like brown. Okay, So that's the brown. And if you go all the way up, it still is like the brown. But if we go under 500, it becomes like that. And if you change the min to max, then it's the other way around. Now it means anything less than 500 pixels will be applied. Anything above that will be normal. So that's the only difference. So that's responsive design. You could do so many things with it. If you watched all the whole lecture, you will understand. And I also gave an example of a website where I styled and designed with media queries and things like that. So yeah, any questions? Any questions you guys have about what we just did and responsive design, Flexbox? All right.
No, for me.
Okay. Yeah, I explained most of it in the lecture. So let me know if you guys have any questions. Try your best to keep working on it. Submit as much as you can. Even if you haven't finished the whole thing, that's fine. Just submit whatever you have, and then that's the best way to move forward. Is to just keep submitting stuff, and then you'll see yourself learning if you just try your best and try try different things. Like the assignment. The assignment basically it says that you create a page. You could use the Fatima restaurant that you had before if you want, but also you could create something new if you like, but make it responsive. Use media queries, use Flexbox, and make it responsive. And it should, when you view it, it should be similar to this. The menus should be like stacked like this. The logo of the website should be like that. And if you don't have to have like gallery, but everything should be stacked like this, basically when it becomes a mobile. When it's a desktop, it should be last lesson, which was, I think it was things like you put things next to each other, like 4 boxes or something like that. But yeah, try your best, inshallah. If you have any question, let me know anytime. I'm usually available starting around like 4 p.m. 4 p.m. illa Maghrib time. So let me know, inshallah, anytime. I'm here to help. All right, I'll let you guys go. Keep working on it, submit as much as you can, and ask me any questions you have, inshallah. Feel free to message me anytime. All right, I will stop it here. And I'll see you guys. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Try to finish it tomorrow. If you haven't finished tomorrow, we can go over it and we can go over the assignment and maybe do part of it together, and then you can finish the other part, inshallah. Yeah.
Inshallah.
All right, take care, inshallah. Khair. Assalamu alaikum.
Alaikum salam.